Hi guys, welcome to the Inside Track. Today my special guest is Grant Geissman. Grant is a fantastic guitar player and he's known for a very famous guitar solo on Chuck Mangioni's hit in the 70s called Feels So Good. He's also a very successful TV and film composer. Today he brings with him into the studio Ray Brinker on drums and Kevin Axt on bass. Let's go and meet them, shall we?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey Ray.
This is James, right there.
Hi James.
And this is David, the head honcho of cameras.
Nice to see you.
This is Ray, he's going to play drums with us.
Nice to be here.
Welcome. So walk this way.
Everything seems to happen for a reason.
I have another bass drum for you, if you
Okay.
rather.
Is it Yamaha?
Yeah, it's the absolute maple drum kit.
That might be cool. Would
you prefer that?
Guy.
Are you?
Well, let me check them out. I'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a surprise party, isn't it? You should.
This guy's yours. It's all threaded through, ready for you.
Lovely. All right.
And if it's upright, we've tried upright before, and the best thing to do is just DI, because with a mic on it as well, it doesn't really. there's not enough separation. Do you know what I mean? But
Sure.
it's fine. Grant, this is David, and you've met James right here.
Nice to see you. Or Grant. I'm not sure which.
Grant. I prefer Grant.
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 Very elegant. Exactly. I used to play with him.
Did you really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. Why do you have his picture here?
I have no idea. I got it from somewhere. I don't
That's
know.
hilarious.
I got tons of these pictures of
Wow.
all these musicians.
Well, we'll save that for the interview too.
Yeah, you really played with him. That's great. Sorry. I've got your Fender Twin in the control room.
Okay.
In the closet, which we can record. If you're okay to monitor with that in here, that's an old Polytone 2x12. But we can do it the other way around if you want.
Huh. Okay. Well,
You know what I mean? We could monitor with a Twin and record with anything else.
okay.
Go
Yeah.
with-
I just don't understand if I'll hear sound through that anyway. Why don't you just have the twin in here and put a mic in front of it?
Well, we can do that. It's just that it's nice to have isolation on you. That's all.
Oh, I see. So it's totally isolated with. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, see if you like it. If you don't, we can do Plan B.
It'll be totally cool.
You might even like it.
You
might.
Maybe it's a whole new thing.
It could be.
It's gonna be
It
great.
could be. Yeah. We need a drink, don't we? Don't you think?
Very important.
Right, let me tell you something. I've got something for you right here. This is Minor Vineyards, who, as you know, are a wonderful sponsor. And this is a bottle of their finest Cabernet.
Very nice indeed.
And let me tell you, you will not be disappointed. All right?
Wine makes everything better, right?
I think so, yeah. It's really good to see you.
Good to see you.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah. What's the first song you're going to play today?
Well, we're going to play actually the title tune from the album that looks very much like this. And it's a tune of mine called Say That.
Very cool. And why did you choose that particular song today?
Well, because we're only playing as a trio, and I had to kind of pick songs that I could sort of cover everything,
Yeah.
just with me and a bass player and a drummer. So, and I like the tune. It's it's kind of like a Horace Silver vibe, and very melodic kind of tune, and it's fun.
came to LA in 1986. Halloween of 1986. I moved here from Texas. I went to school at North Texas and came out to LA from there.
And who have you been playing with the last 20, 30 years?
Well, we've been working I'm a member of the Tierney Sutton Band. We've been doing that for 21 years now. But I came out here with my own band. I was originally with Maynard Ferguson, and I moved out here, and I've done quite a few projects since I've been in town.
Who were your musical heroes growing up?
It depends how far back you go.
Go all the way back.
Okay, so the first sort of guitar music I ever heard, there were some kids that were a few years older than me that had like a surf music band. You know, they played like The Ventures and Wipeout and all that kind of stuff. And I used to come home after school, and they'd be like, you know, they lived around the corner, and I'd come home and I'd see these guitars and Fender Jaguars and stuff, and I'd be like, this is really cool. So I'd go watch them rehearse when I was a kid. And then, you know, I guess a few years after that, the Beatles came out.
Mm-hmm, of course.
And it was like, okay, I already knew guitars were cool, but now they're really cool, and that's it. I'm getting a guitar.
As far as guitar players are concerned, you know, if you look back and go, okay, he was my biggest influence, who would you say it was?
There isn't any one biggest influence. It's just all these, like, so I started because of the British invasion, you know, they call it over here.
Yeah.
You know, Beatles and Stones, and then later, you know, Cream, and I loved the way Clapton played, like the kind of psychedelic blues stuff. That, you know, that was probably a big influence on my kind of bluesy playing.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of Clapton
Right.
stuff.
What about your bop?
So then I took some, you know, lessons. I started out taking lessons right away. So I already knew kind of how to, here's E and it looks like that. and
Right.
This is an eighth note and I know what that, you know. So, and I kept graduating to sort of like the next higher teacher. I grew up in San Jose, up in the Bay Area. So it was way before it was, you know, the Apple headquarters and the whole high tech. It was just a really lovely place with a lot of good musicians, oddly enough. So I would graduate to the next teacher, and little by little, I got to people that were like, well, you know, the pop stuff's okay, but how about G major 7? You know, how about, you know, started teaching me like other chords and you know, a little bit of standards and that kind of thing.
Didn't you grow up in Berkeley?
So I was
San Jose?
I was born in Berkeley.
Yeah.
And then my parents moved to San Jose when I was about 2.
Right. And
So
you moved to LA in 1973. Did I get that right?
yeah, the end of '73.
Yeah.
So I was about 20.
And what was your major focus for moving down LA? To hit the big time?
Exactly.
Like everybody else?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I knew this was where all the studio work was playing, and by that point, I was, you know, like playing in bands that were like. Well, I was kind of schizophrenic because on the weekends I'd play in like rock bands, you know, teen club dances and whatever, doing top 40, whatever stuff. And it was an interesting time for music because it, you know, it went from Cream through you know, Blood, Sweat and Tears came out, and it was like the horn bands, and I did the charts, you know, for the. I had a Chicago Blood, Sweat and Tears band, and I wrote out the horn parts.
Yeah.
And all of that. So it was like an interesting kind of eclectic time for music. So it was cool. But and then I was, you know, still studying guitar and going to like junior college at that time. And when I hit about the third year, going into the third year of college, it's like I gotta go down to LA. That's where everybody I like is down there. You know, I was listening to like Tom Scott and the LA Express, the first LA Express album with Larry Carlton. And Larry just played so beautifully in the studio, like the way he recorded, very tasteful, and it's like, those guys are down there, and it's only about 325 miles from here.
Yeah.
I gotta just go down there.
Right.
So the excuse was to go to Cal State Northridge, which was great because they had a good jazz program and stuff. But the real idea was to get down here and just, you know, I had the audacity to think I could come down here and work.
And did you come down here with a goal of being a studio guitar player? Was it that?
I mean, I had a few goals. I wanted to play jazz,
Right.
you know, or fusion, or what, you know, all of it. I wanted to do all of it. I wanted to, you know, do sessions.
Yeah.
And then at that time, you could actually make a okay living. Like you could support yourself going to college, playing at like society gigs in Beverly Hills. You'd have to dress up in a tuxedo and stuff like that, but you could make a living doing it. And that's, you know, you can't do that anymore. It's not happening.
Tell us about this next song you're going to play.
So we're going to do a tune which is titled after where most jazz musicians operate at all times, and it's called Below the Radar.
Actually, I was born in Burbank, and
Native.
I am a native, but you have to put an asterisk next to that because I actually, when I was a small boy, my family moved up to Northern California where my dad established an architectural firm up in Mendocino County.
And who have you been playing with the last 20 years?
Gosh, Natalie Cole I started touring with for a bit. I was with, believe it or not, Barry Manilow for a while. Tierney Sutton, more currently. Bernadette Peters. It's been a really eclectic variety of folks. I've been very fortunate.
Electric and upright.
Absolutely, yeah.
Of course, we have to talk about Chuck Mangione. I mean, I don't think anybody can interview without not doing that. But before we get into that, was that your big break? Do you feel, or did you feel like you had reached success in one way or another before you met Chuck Mangione?
I mean, I'd already been doing stuff around LA, getting a little bit of studio work going, and
Yeah.
I played in various bands. Like I played in Gerald Wilson's big band.
Wow.
All this stuff happened out of Cal State Northridge because
Yeah.
Gerald Wilson had a jazz class,
Mm-hmm.
and he would scope out who the good students were, and often either have them come play for his class, which I did, or literally hire guys to play in his band,
Yeah.
which I did. And Louis Belson was the same way, the jazz drummer Louis Belson. So I was already kind of, don't spill the wine. I was already getting like foot in the door of a lot of things. and including just literally playing for free down at the Union in rehearsal bands. And because of doing that, a guy named Bill Reichenbach heard me play, a trombone player, who was a former student of Chuck Mangione's, who had moved out here. And Chuck was looking to add a guitar player to his permanent group. And he asked Reichenbach, have you heard any young guys coming up that you think sound good? And he goes, yeah, you should try this Grant Geissman guy.
Wow, so he totally went to bat for you. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
How long were you in Chuck Mangione's band?
Man, I think it was about like 4 years.
Right.
In the kind of heyday.
And when was the Feel So Good
That was
part of the...
I think we recorded, it seems like I joined his band at the end of 76, like around November or something like that. And then we recorded Feel So Good around July or August of 77. And then it became a huge hit in the next year.
Yeah. But I mean, that's one of the great famous guitar solos of all time. I mean, of course you had no idea when you recorded it, but are you surprised at how famous that solo has made you?
I mean, it's iconic in a way. It kind of has a life of its own, because it's been like, I mean, I don't know, it's at least, 35 years ago or something? I mean, it's like, wow. Happily, I've done other things apart from that, so it's, but I'm proud of it. It's nice, it's, people bring it up and it's like, yeah, I did that,
Let's talk about your early albums, because I think you would probably say that they were very different from your later ones. How do you think they've changed over time?
Well, ironically, the very first one I did, called Good Stuff, on Concord Jazz, which came out in 1978 when I was still with Chuck Mangione, was very much a jazz album. So in that way, the very first album and the last 3 albums I've done are like of a piece. But then there's a whole middle section that, my problem or it's either a problem or a, strength in a way, is I'm very eclectic. I can play many different kinds of music. I can write different kinds of music. I like different kinds of music. So, there's an eclectic quality to all the albums I've done in the middle.
Yeah.
And then because Chuck's thing was instrumental, it was jazz, but it was very melodic, and I totally related to that. I totally got what he was doing, It made perfect sense to me. So some of my early albums, they were like, they were interesting melodies and cool chords, but, they were like stuff you could play on, but still had an accessibility about them.
Yeah. And I guess right in the middle of your career, you sort of jumped on the smooth jazz thing, just like a lot of people have.
I never jumped on it. It just evolved. I mean, they didn't call it smooth jazz. For a while, it was like fusion, and then it was kind of like Quiet Storm or something. Right. And then, actually, by the time they started calling it smooth jazz, like for real, I was on my way out.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I didn't sign up for this.
No.
This is not what I spent all those hours in the practice room trying to get stuff together to play this. So.
But you did have some success, and you had a couple of hits, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a couple number ones at radio.
Right, I remember I was in the thick of it at the same time. We were probably on the chart at the same time. What I thought was really interesting this week is looking at this great album, by the way.
Thank you.
But when this came out, right on the front cover it said, "Say that is an iron fist upside the mushy head of smooth jazz and Grant Geissman's defiant declaration of independence." I love that. I don't know why, but I mean that's also kind of a heavy statement to. I mean, you must have decided to turn on a dime.
I decided to burn some bridges.
Yeah.
Because I just hated that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the word, but I hated it. I hated what that. Look, it became a marketing thing where the music had to be just so down the center of the road, so watered down, and where the radio. I forget what they call it. Kind of like the marketing guys were saying, "Oh no, you can't have that solo. Take that out and do this and do that." And it's like, you know what? This is not it. I'm out of here. And it was quite a few years before I kind of figured out what makes me happy. What music do I like to hear? What music do I like to play? And that was this album.
You really surprised me this week. When we were talking, you said that playing standards is not your thing.
It isn't.
But you've got all the facility to play on standards. Tell me what it is. I think I've got an answer for you, by the way, but I want you to answer the question first. Why do you think that is?
It might be all the bad dreams about playing casuals in Beverly Hills in college, A. And secondly, I like to try to write my own material.
I have found that people who have a problem with other people's music tend to be composers, you know? I mean, you know, I'm the same to a point. I've written tons of stuff because I was dissatisfied with so much music that other people have written, as good as it might be, do you know what I mean?
I mean, there's incredible standard tunes. It's unbelievable. You know, the library is.
Oh, there's some...
It's just I don't like to sit there and play standards. I don't know why. I can't really. I can't put my finger on it. It's just never been my thing.
Yeah.
And then when I see guys that know every standard tune and just burn through them, I go, man, I kind of wish I could do that, but it's not me.
But they're generally not composers either,
Maybe not.
you know?
So maybe not. So
Yeah.
you know, you can't have it both ways.
Of course, we have to talk a little bit about your very successful TV composer. 2.5 Men is a pretty huge account. How did you get hooked up with those guys?
It's a very weird story. My friend Lee Aronson, we became buddies, A, because he collects Mad Magazine material,
Yeah.
and B, because he's a huge Beatle fan, which I am too.
Right.
So we kind of hit it off in that way. And you know, some years ago, he had this little TV show called Life and Stuff starting up. It was on CBS, and it starred Pam Dauber. And he's like, literally out of the blue, he's like, hey, you're a musician. I'm doing this little show. Why don't you try to pitch a theme? And it's like, okay. And I made a little demo, and he liked it, and that became the theme for this show, which only lasted 4 episodes on the air because I think the network hated it, and it was just like, eh.
Right.
But we always kept in touch, you know, with Mad Magazine stuff or, you know, Beatles hanging out or whatever. And then years go by, and he calls up and he goes, hey, I'm working on this show called 2.5 Men coming up, and it's going to have John Cryer and Charlie Sheen, and you know, maybe you should pitch a theme. I don't know what it would be, something with the word men in it, and I don't know, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like, okay, so I thought, he told me what the show was about, and I don't think they'd even shot anything yet. They had scripts, you know, they were writing the concept. So I jotted something down, and he came over, and he's like, yeah, I think that's good, and we honed that down to its essence, made it a little shorter and stuff. We made a demo and sent that over in. He took it in, and one thing led to another, and Chuck Lorre ended up liking it, and then Chuck kind of wrote a little intro to it, and we finessed it a little more and honed it down even more, and that became the final theme to 2.5 Men. So.
That's amazing.
But it all had to do with Mad Magazine and being a Beatles fan.
And so you're also doing Mike and Molly, is that right?
Yeah.
Is that the
and
same production company?
Same production company.
Right, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Very
And we just ended 2.5 Men in season 12. You know, they finally folded the tent, and you know, the ratings have been great, and it's doing very well in syndication, so knock on wood.
Well, cool. It's been great, Grant. Thank you very
man.
much for coming.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful
Cheers.
to play with you and hear you play
It's
live.
great to hang out.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Well, that's our show. Thanks very much for watching. Special thanks to Grant Geissman, Kevin Axt, and Ray Brinker, and also Minor Wine. If you're not a member of The Inside Track, do subscribe, and we'll see you next time on The Inside Track. Thanks, you guys.
We're gonna love it. I just know.
Oh yeah. Music history.
It's gonna be amazing.